Before I get started, I want to give a shout out to all the paying members of my Patreon channel. Your support is necessary, and without you, none of this is possible. And a special shout out to Daddy Dame for the $50 donation. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, Cash App and PayPal are available. Just be sure to let me know in the For section if it's okay for me to thank you publicly, or else I'll assume you'll want to remain anonymous.
The thing that pissed me off about Martin was how much he would go on Pam. Like, I know, like, and this is coming from a girl who I love me a good, like, joking movie, and it even when the joking movie is like, damn, like that was fucked up, like, you know, I'm not like too woke or something is what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm honestly not, I'm problematic. I'm pretty problematic, low key, but my point is that there are some things where I draw the line and it just bothered me, or like, I don't know, it's like Pam was so beautiful and so fine, and I just feel like growing up as a chocolate girl, like, I don't even know if I was able to understand the greatness of Pam because of the light that I feel like I was being fed. You know what I'm saying?
All right, now we gotta talk about Miss Ari Lennox. Miss Ari Lennox. When I first heard this story, first of all, I didn't know who she was. I had no clue who Ari Lennox was. I'd heard the name, but I didn't really pay attention to the face. And I looked her up and I said, oh my God, she's fine as all get out.
She's pretty.
Yeah, she is an absolute smoke show. But, so I enjoyed looking her up. But, but apparently she's, for those who don't know, she is an R&B singer who was signed to J. Cole's Dreamville label. And I did recognize her song. That song, Shea Butter Baby, I like that.
Okay.
I hear people play Pressure all the time. So
okay, I've never heard of those songs, but
that's how I found out who she was. And so she's been making some news the last week or so.
Yeah,
she's been accusing Martin Lawrence of colorism back when he had his show Martin. Now, it's important to note that Miss Ari Lennox was born in 1991 and Martin aired in 1992.
Right.
So she was seeing the syndicated reruns, I'm assuming. But she pretty much had an issue with the way Martin on his show would roast the Pam character.
Yeah.
And she pretty much equated it to colorism and how it affected her as a young black girl with dark skin. And it, quote, pissed her off.
Yeah.
And then she goes to say that she's not too woke, but I beg to differ, and we'll come back to that later. But as for me personally, I was 12 years old with Martin, okay? And I was a fan of the show, you know, wasn't a big fan, but I did watch it every week, and I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny because, you know, being an oops baby, growing up with older parents, the first thing I thought of was like, oh, this is like a young people's version of Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
You know, because I was a huge fan of that. And so that's how I saw their relationship as, you know, Martin was like Fred Sanford and Pam was like Aunt Esther.
Right.
Yeah. And
Makes
so
sense.
And for that reason, I can kind of understand what Ari Lennox is saying, because Martin used to go in on Pam, you know, with her beady beans and her skank attitude, and you know, and so because Pam was always loud, she was aggressive, she was mean, and she was always frowning, I never really saw her as attractive. I just saw her as Aunt Esther because she was so mean. And keep in mind, I was watching this show when I was 12, so that's how I saw her.
Yes.
But it wasn't like until decades later, thanks to YouTube, I was seeing clips, and I said, damn, Pam was the hot one.
Yes.
And I was like, because everybody was talking about Gina, you know, Tisha Campbell back in the day was attractive,
right?
You know, and I was like, well, damn, Pam she is, oh my God, she is the show.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
She was, you know,
she was beautiful.
But the reason I didn't like her had nothing to do with her physical appearance. Is that she was always had a frown on her face.
Right. Yeah, she did go over the top with the facial expressions.
Yeah, and I just kept thinking that's Esther. Esther. And Esther was
yeah.
Esther was rough looking.
You fish-eyed fool.
Yeah. So, I don't remember Martin ever attacking her on her skin tone. I don't remember that.
Me neither.
I think he was just going after her for her character, and that's why I think Miss Ari missed the point. Because I don't know when she first started watching Martin. Maybe she was, 5 or 6 years old and didn't know what was going on because she talked about how it affected her as a little girl. But I don't think skin complexion ever played a factor on that, and that's why I disagree with her assessment of the character. I mean of what she saw.
Yes.
And so I just tried to just brush it off to say, okay, this was just a silly little girl that didn't know what she was watching. But then after she got the pushback from people not liking what she said about Martin, Miss Thang came back and doubled down.
You to speak my mind and happily y'all off in the process. If I had ill intent, I would have came on here with a PowerPoint presentation that backs my claims on the types of jokes, and I meant no harm to them. Jokes was wild, and I don't say any of this with any desire to rewrite history. Those actors and actresses are legends, and I meant no harm to them. I don't need any army of people defending me or agreeing with me. That has always been a rare occurrence for me. But I feel amazing in knowing that I will validate myself and my feelings before I look to you or yours. I'm also aware that people have been called worse things by people they love and by their enemies. So maybe their experience with Martin was special and therapeutic and unique to them. I never was a fan of roasting, period. I like to talk, y'all, and I like to think. Hell, I just watched the Bernie Mac stand up a few years back, and I understand why he is a legend that he is, but I also couldn't help but to feel uncomfortable about some of his jokes too.
Hell! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
So now it's about her.
Wow.
She's the victim. She's the standard of greatness.
Yeah.
And what really makes me is her tone.
Oh, yeah.
And this time she's condescending. She's defiant.
Right.
She's loud, forceful. And now she's lecturing us idiots in the argument, in the audience for disagreeing with her.
Yep. Typical.
I mean, she's coming across as what I call a face chew.
Yeah.
It was just the audio, but I can just imagine her like just really moving her mouth to enunciate every word just to prove a point. I can't stand people who do that.
The sassy.
And okay, and that enough was bad. But then she ended it with taking a shot at Bernie Mac.
Oh.
She saw some of his stand up and said, she didn't like that either. So then I said, you know what? This woman is more than just stupid.
Yeah.
This woman is more than just, I'm saying, I don't want to say stupid. This woman is more than just ignorant and disrespectful.
Right.
But she's an obnoxious dumbass.
Right. Yeah. That sounds about right.
As I'm sitting there putting it all together, I said, you know what she is? She's a Karen. She's a black Karen. She's got the spirit of an angry, middle-aged, suburban white woman in her.
Yeah.
She
I can see that.
She went from expressing her opinion to chastising us about her feelings.
Right.
And what she finds problematic. Which, of course, we're supposed to find problematic because we're supposed to orbit around her feelings and emotions.
Right.
And the thing is, people like that or women like her, they love to go out and enforce social change and pass laws.
Yep.
We're all supposed to conform to what makes them feel bad.
Right.
So she wants to punish the culture because she feels uncomfortable, because she has some deep psychological issues that she has yet to resolve.
Yep.
So therefore, all of us have to be punished. That's what I have to say. What are your thoughts?
I totally agree. I did a little bit of research, did a little digging. And first off, let me just give her flowers. I don't know about her music. It is just not my thing. I might just check it out, see what the brown sugar or the shea butter and the pressure, whatever. But she's definitely, I've seen her carry herself, eloquently. She's a natural woman. Like you said, she's a smoke show. She seems to be conscious of, her the way she carried herself on many occasions. I've seen little clips. And, she's a beautiful woman. I've seen her be well-spoken. So me seeing her being a Karen, it's quite shocking because there's been a lot of instances that I've heard on the YouTube streets and social media that she's been bullied for being a mammy, for being a pick-me, because she sided with, it might have been Chris Brown, for him saying negative things about look or their skin tone. So I'm just like, what is going on? And I think on another occasion, Layman, you mentioned that some of these women, pro-Black women, have become radicalized and they start to become Black feminists. And I think that's what's happening to Ari Lennox. And let me just address her talking about Martin's show and his comments or him, the skin tone thing. I agree with you. I have never in my life, and I used to watch Martin all the time on heavy rotation, just like you, watched it on a regular basis every week, waited on it. I've seen almost every episode, and I've never heard him go in on her skin tone. It was always her hair, her attitude, and she scowled. He would catch her when she's frustrated about something and go in on her. I think that's where the scowling came from. That's what I've seen. And the biggest thing that Ari is missing is the fact, besides the fact that jokes are jokes. This is a heavily, loved show. And if the show was offensive to Black women back then, you best believe they would have put on their pro-Black garbs, and they would have went out and they would have protested against this show. This show would have been negatively impacted by the comments and the attitude and the scripting of that show. That did not happen. Black women like myself laughed at it because guess what? Here's the kicker. Pam gave the disrespect and the disparaging remarks right back to Martin exactly the way, as hard as she got it, as hard as she gave it. She went in on his hairline. She called him egghead. She said his ears open like car doors. She went in on his statures, called him short man. She said he ain't got no body, no muscles. He can blow away in the wind. So that's why I was like, girl, here's what I think what happened. Her aunties got to her head. And this has happened before with entertainers, these pro-Black entertainers. They said that they talked to their aunties, their uncles, aunties and grandmothers, and they told them, you need to stand up, you need to do this, you need to do that. For Black women, you got the platform. They're always telling Black women to use their platform for social justice. And when I heard the interview, it seems like that she was kind of like hesitant about going in or saying anything negative. And, on these podcasts, they want these women to just be as liberal and loud as they possibly can because they have to make a stir. She was being subdued. She was saying, oh, she didn't like this. And I didn't like her cursing on there either. I was like, this woman, she doesn't sound like the same Ari Lennox that's soft-spoken and is, talking about we need to stick together as people. She was crying and boo-hooing about somebody calling her a pit bull, saying her nose is shaped like a pit bull and saying stuff like that. She was boo-hooing and crying and saying she loved Black men and all this stuff. So I think she's been radicalized for taking shots at Bernie Mac. He's not here to defend himself. And Martin is not here to fire back at her. He don't care about her. He probably don't even know who she is. He's where he's at. He's got his fame, fortune, and notoriety. He doesn't need to try to put her in her place and say, little girl, you don't know what comedy is, blah, blah, blah. And so that's what really bothered me. And that's first off. And second of all, I did my research. Tichina Arnold helped him come up with those jokes. So that's why I was like, yes, Tichina Arnold, here's what it says. She has stated that the jokes were all in good fun and that she was never insulted by them. She and Martin Lawrence would often work together to develop the jokes and for their on-screen chemistry, to get that Aunt Esther back and forth, to make it realistic. But they actually have a genuine friendship. And I'll take it further, is that some people might say, no, Tachina, she's a mammy. She's going along to get along. No, if she was secretly upset with him, she wouldn't have starred with him in this movie called She Played His Wife. It looked weird to me. I never could wrap my head around her being his husband in Wild Hogs. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It has Tim Allen, Ray Liotta, William H. Macy, and John Travolta on it. I saw it. It was highly hilarious. I laughed through the entire thing. But she played his wife in there. I doubt actors would take roles that they could take or leave and take on these roles with somebody that deeply hurt them. So I feel like, again, another thing that really bothers me is people being offended on behalf of people who are not offended. I think that's what Ari is going through. She needs psychotherapy. I definitely think so. And like you said, that's a good point. She was like 2 years old when this show came out. How in the world are you deeply offended by a show that happened when you were barely a blip on the radar? If anything, the boys at school probably saw the show later on when she got into middle school in syndication and start picking at her, calling her BDB. What BDB? What is that? And then she saw the show and was like, oh, this show is giving ammunition to the boys that are picking at me at school. The bullies are using these comebacks on her.
I never thought of that.
But again, I don't think she's even saw a full season. The way she talk is like she's talking from a place of disconnect. Anybody that was an avid show watcher would know they went back and forth, and like you said, that's a good depiction. That it's like they're on Esther. Aunt Esther roasted Fred got her back. It was back and forth. They made good points and they got good licks in.
I want to circle back to something you said during your turn. I didn't know that Tachina Arnold helped Martin write those jokes.
Oh yeah.
So she was essentially roasting her own character.
Yeah, she definitely was. Because,
that tells me she couldn't have been doing any colorism jokes. I don't think she would go there because do know Tachina Arnold is very much a pro-black, very much pro-FBA. I know she's done some things with Tariq Nasheed.
Yep.
So yeah, Ari Lennox is really talking out of her butt on this one. Yeah,
she's projecting, and it's some type of false memory she has, and aunties are chirping in her ear, but she's totally misguided, and she needs to watch her step. Being condescending like that, she's gonna get barraged with more insults.
And remember, she's talking about Martin Lawrence and Bernie Mac,
legends.
Bernie Mac is not here with us. Yeah. Why you even think to even have the courage to speak on him like that is beyond self-unaware. You are an absolute clown to ever speak negatively.
Exactly.
And Martin Lawrence, I mean, he's one of the gods in the game.
Yeah.
So she's out of touch.
Yeah, she's definitely out of touch. I agree. Yeah, she needs to go sit down somewhere and learn her history and, center herself.
Yep, and that's the show.
Yay!
Thank you for watching this chapter of the Layman's Journal. But before you go, please be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel of today's guest host. The link will be in the description as well as the upper right-hand corner of the screen. This is the Layman's Journal. I'm out.